Alright, so welcome guys to another review, and today we're gonna check the CCA CSN. So I'm really delayed in this, but this is a hybrid configuration. Falls right smack with your ZSN Pro X's, ZST X's as well. And what's really interesting here is usually for KZ versus CCA, I usually prefer the CCA counterpart, and because of that, this might be our preference over the ZSN Pro X, and that is what we're gonna try to find out here in this video. Of course, big thanks to CCA themselves for sending this over. Links down below for their shop. So at the box, you're getting that DQ6 look, CCA CSN as well, and at the other side, you're getting 3.5mm jack, 0.75mm 2-pin connector at 20 to 40 kHz in frequency range, 22 ohm impedance as well, and your typical CCA KZ box here. And this is your unboxing experience, and this is the CSN. It kind of looks cool actually for the first impressions, but this has a CCA CKX vibe to it going on with that matte finish here. So looking at the cable, you're getting the typical silver cable here, same as your KZ ZSN Pro X's. So you're actually not getting your usual Starline tips here, right? So looking at the lobes itself, and wow, you have some fins here, which kind of looks cool. Really reminds me of maybe the DQ6 in a way on this. Yeah, this might be a bit bigger than the DQ6. You have that bulges as well. So maybe reminds me of actually the BD005 Pro in the shape here. You have that bulge here. It's a custom IEM design. You have some fins as well. And yeah, this looks quite cool for me. It feels solid in the hand. So you have that plastic build. But I would say it still feels solid in the hand. I'm not sure if this is metal or plastic, but it still feels good in the hand for me, and actually goes inside the ear as well. So I would say over the ZSN Pro X's, this might be more fitting on the ear. This might be more of a custom IEM shape. This is actually surprising to see in the sub $20